Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Ksi vs Fury fight. If you are new around here though and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. Of course, with the YouTube cards, do it a bit differently, go through the whole card, not just the main event, because the whole card to some, or to the people who hopefully watches this, will be more interesting. And so I'm going to start off with the first fight on the card being Demir versus Arts. And Demir, I mean, he's fought a few times now. He's never really looked good. He's improved a little bit throughout, and I quite enjoyed Tempo Arts' first and second fights, to be fair. He obviously isn't amazing or anything like that, but he seems to have a bit more maybe about him. I think he is a bit technically better. I think if he was to lose a bit more the weight and to keep going with his journey and keep improving, and then I think he could be a good boxer. And so I'm going to go with an Arts victory for that one. Moving on to SX versus DTG. I believe DTG's fought before. I don't really know too much about either of these two. I know they're both musicians, I believe. SX, I think this is his first fight. I'm going to go with a DTG victory. I think he has fought before. I think he's won before. I believe he has the more experience. I don't think SX is going to come in and really be anything that special. So I'm going to go with DTG victory. Moving on now to Wet versus Grace. That of course fight was going to happen before and it didn't end up happening. I think I did prediction for it. I can't really remember, to be honest. But I'm going to go with same as I believe what I said before. Wet victory, Wet victory. I think she's going to have the better somewhat technical ability. She's got a half decent jab and she uses that quite effectively, and I feel like she could jab her way to a victory, with the occasional sloppy bits which come with pretty much every influencer fight, and so you know, it's whatever. But I'm going to go over Wet to victory. Moving on now to swarmz versus now Matthews. It was going to be swarmz versus Taylor 2, which to be fair I had Taylor winning that one, but he's had some stuff going on outside. I'm not really going to speak about that, but now he's had to pull out, and so now we've got swarmz versus Matthews, which to be honest I think is still a good fight and still an interesting fight. It's going to be interesting to see what Matthews is coming in like on 2 days notice, and if he's passing all the drug tests. I don't know if they've been putting them towards him or not, but you know, it's not been spoke about. But I'm going to go for swarmz victory. I think he has got a bit of ability there, and he's been improving, and he looks in amazing shape, and so I would like to think that swarmz can win that one. I don't think he put up a bad contest against Deji. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't as bad as his first fight, and so I feel like there is ability there, and I feel like this fight is the highest chance he has of being able to get a victory, and he always puts himself in against quite tough opponents for himself, and so this one I feel like is a bit more of a 50-50, maybe a 70-30 leaning towards him now, and so yeah, I think he'll be able to win that one. Moving on to the next fight, what's the tag team, that's what it's called, fight. We've got Wasabi and Nick Lamau versus B-Dave and Pineda. I'm going to go with Wasabi and Nick Lamau. I think both of them are by far better boxers than Pineda and B-Dave. I think the only thing that could make it a bit more of an interesting fight is the fact that Pineda and B-Dave have done the tag team already, and they kind of know how it works a bit better and know when to substitute each other out, and maybe one of Wasabi and Nick Lamau might be a bit more stubborn and try and stay in there for a bit too long and possibly get caught. But either way, I still think that Wasabi and Nick Lamau are by far better boxers and can clearly outbox both of them, to be honest, and so I feel like, to be fair, either of them could beat two of them to be honest, but yeah, I'm going to go with them to win. Moving on to Nunes versus Nate. I think this is going to be a closer fight than what people are saying. Obviously, Nate didn't look very good, realistically, against Kenny when they fought, and Nunes also didn't look very good against Kenny when he fought. Kenny just kind of smoked both of them, but the fact that Nunes really didn't look too good, and he looked slower, and he looked bigger, and he looked less motivated, and he didn't really show anything of note, really stops that hype train that he had it after the first fight. And I'm going to go with a Nate victory for this one. I think he still does have more to show and is going to be eager to show it, and I feel like in this fight he's going to be able to show it a bit more, because I think Nunes might let him try fight his fight a bit more and be a little bit less aggressive. And I just don't know if he's even that motivated, to be honest, Nunes. But I'm going to go with a Nate victory for that one. Moving on to Kenny versus Taylor. Taylor is known for making fights difficult and making fights awkward and having that kind of journeyman style where you just kind of latch on to the opponent, and if his one punch isn't working, then he'll just latch on to you and then make it very difficult. And he did that against Papi, and so it's very difficult to be able to beat somebody like Taylor. And I think only good enough boxers can do it that are used to that kind of style that comes with journeyman. And I don't think Kenny's used to it. Obviously, Kenny looked very good in his last fight, and he's now got quite a big fight for this kind of Misfits thing here. And he looked amazing in his last fight. But I'm gonna say that Taylor's gonna win this one. I think Taylor's gonna make it awkward, make it difficult, and not really make it that entertaining, to be completely honest. But do what he has to do to get the victory via probably decision, to be honest. Because I don't think Kenny's just going to be allowed to just dictate the range, because I feel like Taylor's used to having bigger fighters against him and being able to latch on to you, and he'll probably do that, to be honest. Moving on to Dean versus Waleed 2. This is quite a good fight, to be honest, and one which is going to be interesting, I'm sure. I'm going to go with Dean the Great victory. I think the first fight was obviously very close, and I just think that Dean's got a bit more to show and just didn't go through the gears enough in that last fight. And while he did look really good, and I think he was winning, but I'm going to go with Dean victory just because he has that bit more power about him. And I do think he has more to show, and hopefully he does show it in this one, as I think he's up for this one a little bit more. Yeah, I'm going to go with a Dean the Great victory. Moving on, Papi versus Slim now. I'm going to go with a Papi victory. Maybe that's just my biases because I quite like him. But I think he has the more technical ability, he has that more explosiveness about him. Will he be able to stop Slim? I don't know, I doubt it. Slim could definitely make it difficult with the range, but I feel like Papi's used to fighting bigger fighters, and when he fought Taylor, he's similar height to Taylor, I believe, and so I think Papi is used to being able to control the range and close the distance quite quickly, and I think he could catch Slim out with a few shots that he throws. And Slim, I like Slim. He's good at range, but inside he's not great. And I feel like if Papi can fight on the inside, then he can find success and be able to get the victory that way. And that's what I think he'll do. Moving on now to the co-main event, Paul versus Danis. I'm actually very excited for this one, to be honest, because of course there's been a lot of going back and forth, but I don't think either of them are amazing. So I feel like this could be interesting to see how they developed, and of course neither of them have fought in boxing in a while. Well, Danis in general hasn't fought in a while, but I feel like Danis is, well, I feel like they're both going to come in this with a point to prove, of course, and both come in this very eager to be able to win, and I think it's going to be a very entertaining fight. But I think Paul's going to win via TKO in round 2. I'm going to be giving more in depth for these two, because I feel like Paul, he's the bigger guy, he's the stronger guy. I don't think Danis is that powerful. I don't think Danis is by far technical. I'm not saying that Paul is, but I feel like Paul can fight if he lets his hands go, which I feel like he will, because I think he has got that, like Danis has brought out that kind of thing in him, and I feel like Paul will let his hands go, and if he does, then he has that more power and he has that more height and that more ability, I'd like to say, than what Danis has. Obviously Danis is a real fighter on paper, but like I said, he hasn't fought in ages, and it wasn't even in the same sport, and he was hardly even throwing strikes anyway in that. So I think Paul's going to win via TK in round 2, but I feel like that's going to be a good fight. Hopefully it isn't just involving just a lot of clinching, but it wouldn't surprise me if something kicks off if Danis loses after the fight. But yeah, moving on to the main event, KSI versus Fury. KSI coming in, this was quite a big underdog, to be fair. Of course, Fury coming off the victory versus Paul, but I'm going to go with a KSI victory via KO in round 3. Obviously, it's not what the favourites and what the odds are saying, but I think that KSI, there's definitely things that Fury can do. There's definitely ways that both of them could win. I think Fury could time KSI well with a shot coming in and then be able to win that way, or possibly keep him at range, but I feel like it's going to be very difficult to keep KSI at range because he is very unorthodox and it's quite hard to train for somebody like that. And I think Fury just didn't show enough against Paul. Paul wasn't really doing much that was difficult. I would like to think that he could have definitely shown more Fury. Paul was at one point just kind of hitting that same shot over and over again, that same right overhand, and it was causing Fury with bits of distress, and Fury got caught coming in as well and then got dropped that way. And I feel like if KSI puts on the aggression and puts Tommy on the back foot, I don't think his jab's going to be enough to stop KSI from coming in. I don't think it's strong enough to be able to stop KSI from coming in with his will and his desire to come in and make it a close range fight. And I don't think Fury on the back foot in a close range fight is going to win. But obviously Fury, if he comes in a bit more aggressive, then maybe we can see something a bit different there. But I just don't see him coming in as the more aggressive fighter. So I think KSI is going to win via stoppage in round 3, KO in round 3. Because I would see he hits hard as well. Maybe TKO, but it wouldn't surprise me if it is quite a cold knockout. But you never know. There's definitely ways, like I said, for both of them to win. I think if it goes to points, and Fury most likely does win. But KSI, it's going to be interesting to see if it does go to later rounds how KSI's kind of gas tank is, because it hasn't really been tested, and the way he does fight is, like I said, very explosive, and he moves quite a lot. And I would definitely like to think that in the later rounds KSI does struggle a bit more, but I still think it won't get to that point. But yeah, that is it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you didn't need, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.